I just want to take a quick second. I'm going to welcome all of you today. My name is Sarah Legis. I work for the SRJC Foundation. So we are the fundraising arm of the college, and we also have our Alumni Friends Association underneath us. And so we are responsible for maintaining connections with alumni after they transfer or graduate from the college, which is one of the ways in which we're doing that with all of you wonderful STEM folks. So we are really delighted to have you here today. These are called our Bear Talks. So we're doing a series of panels with our alumni to share their advice and wisdom about transfer, career options, all sorts of things. We've been primarily focused on STEM, but we're looking forward to expanding into other careers as well. So thank you to Abigail and Tenzing for their work in organizing this panel. So I'm going to turn it over to Tenzing next.
So yeah, we can start off the panel. So first, I would like Nawang to introduce himself.
Hi guys, my name is Noel Sherpa. I graduated from Cal already, 2018. Went to the JC, did the whole bioseries thing, and transferred to Berkeley in 2016. And after graduating Berkeley, I attended this program at Stanford, which kind of went over like, a little bit of clinical work, as well as some dry lab research. Anything else I can share with you guys?
Oh, your major, and then.
Oh yeah. So at JC, I did, like I said, the bio series, but transferring to Cal, I majored in molecular and cellular biology, and with a focus in cell and developmental bio. Yeah.
Okay. And next is Kal.
Hi everybody, my name is Kal Mack, and I transferred to UC Davis last year from SRJC. I spent about 5 years at the JC taking some classes, trying to figure out what to do. I'm sure a lot of people have that similar experience where they had an idea of what they wanted to do, but they weren't sure. But I would say SRJC was pretty instrumental in helping me figure out and giving me the time to figure out what I wanted to do. I was able to graduate in 2019, and I got this really cool STEM little thing right here to show that I graduated with STEM from SRJC. And I went into UC Davis as a global disease biology major. And basically what that is it's like you have 3 different disciplines. You can either go into human disease or plant disease, animal disease, and there's applications for med school, nursing, agriculture, all kinds of disciplines. And I actually ended up nesting into plant pathology, which I found really interesting. So as soon as I got into campus or got into school.
Hey, Kal, do you have a headset? Because I think if you, like, since you're speaking through the speaker of your laptop, like it's kind of coming out distorted.
Is it? Oh, the weird Wi-Fi. Hold on.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm. Does that sound better?
No, still distorted.
Yeah. Everybody's using Wi-Fi nowadays, doing work at home.
It's kind of buzzing. It's kind of buzzing, yeah. Like there might be some feedback on the system.
I can try.
Do you have headphones you can use?
Yeah, I'll go grab those.
Okay.
1 second.
Tenzing, do you want to get some questions started with Nawang?
I think it's better if anyone has questions for Nawang, like regarding transferring to Berkeley right now. You could, I can use back. So how's that?
Hello?
Nope.
You can hear us? You can hear me now? Okay, that's much better. Okay, awesome. All right, where did I leave off? Or
You're talking about your focus on from global disease bio.
Oh yeah, so I transferred to UC Davis as a global disease biology student, and there was a variety of different disciplines that I wanted to figure out where I wanted to go into. Basically, the way that it had it set up is you could take a whole variety of classes just to get an idea of how the major works, and then you end up nesting into like one of the disciplines, and then from there on out, you kind of have a focus. I decided to go with plant pathology because I really enjoyed the bio series at SRJC, specifically the Bio 2.3. I found plant biology really interesting, so I decided to pursue that further. And that's where I kind of fell into the plant pathology discipline. And I found about how amazing of a field it is, and all the kinds of research that are being done nowadays that's super important, relevant, especially as climate change gets worse. A lot of these plant diseases are popping up more and more, and it's just a really amazing field of research that I've nested into. Part of the major actually requires you to write a practicum paper. Basically, you do a research project on your own on something related to the major, and you do your own research, and then you write a whole paper about it, basically talking about what you learned, and as if it was like a research project. And by the end of it, you submit it, and then you get your major. And that's actually what I'm working on right now is writing my paper on a biological control agent against a known plant pathogen that affects strawberries. So it's really interesting stuff.
Nice.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I'm so excited. All these students come in as pre-meds to the biology major series. It's nice to pull one over to the green side. Not that there's anything wrong with pre-meds.
All right, so now that we have our both panelists here, so I think we want to get started with the questions. If anyone has any questions while like any of the panelists is talking, please shoot it in the chat, and then Sarah will ask those questions after the panelists are done speaking. So we have I have 6 different questions that I've written down. So what I was thinking we're going to do is we're going to alternate between the panelists, of who starts with the question. And then if let's say if Nawang talks about his experience at Berkeley, and then Kal can, and if they want to add on to each other's, that would be great. So I'm going to start off with the first question. This goes to Nawang, is you transfer Berkeley?
Sorry, I think it just cut off there. Can you repeat that question?
Oh yeah. So what made you decide to transfer on to UC Berkeley, and then more than any other UCs?
What made me transfer to Berkeley rather than any other UCs? Is that the question? Okay. For me personally, I think it was more so. Yeah, for me it was more so personally to do with the amount of hospitals and clinics that were available in the Bay Area compared to Davis area. Just because Stanford is like an hour and a half to 2 away. You have UCSF there, and then they have their department on the Berkeley side as well. So going into Cal, that was one of the goals of getting into clinical experience. But when I ended up there, I ended up doing more so of the research side, and then explore the clinical side a little bit later after graduation. So it didn't work out as planned, but that was my initial intentions behind attending Cal.
We actually have a
and then Cal, why did you decide to transfer to Davis instead of
And then Cal, after you answer that one, could you also expand on how you enjoyed or didn't enjoy UC Davis?
Truthfully, I always wanted to go to Davis, so I may have been a little biased in choosing my my school of choice. But I think what really made me want to go to Davis was just talking to people and getting the sense of the environment I wanted for my school. And really the idea of having a super green university that cares a lot about the environment, has great environmental programs, great agricultural programs, emphasizes most of the people that go to the school either take the bus or bike around campus or bike to school. So it wasn't like a huge commuter school. And it was nested in this town where everything is in walking distance and everything you could bike to and enjoy. And they even have this public garden that is funded and supported by the entire university. So really for me, it was a lot of the culture that they were trying to present at this university that really drew me to it. And I think just kind of being there and in that environment that cared so much about nature pushed me towards plant pathology even more, because it made me kind of realize and look around at the nature around me, and I guess just want to take action and see how I could advance the research and understanding of like native California species and our agriculture. And yeah, there's just a lot of interesting things that they're doing at school. And yeah, as for things that I didn't enjoy, it's hard to say. I enjoy a lot about it. I guess there's a lot of construction. So that's one downside, is that there's always going to be noise on that campus, and there's always a lot of something going on there. Another thing is the library wasn't really my favorite. So I would say if you're somebody who really likes to spend a lot of time at the library, I know I love the SRJC library. It was just not the same. It was not the same at the UC Davis, unfortunately. The good news is that there's plenty of other places to study, and there's plenty of other places to go. But yeah, the library just wasn't the same for me. And I think that's about it for the downsides.
Thank you for sharing, Kal.
I'm going to text right now a friend of mine who was really instrumental in building the JC library and tell him you just said that.
Oh yeah, no, I miss it so much. You have no idea.
We also have a question in the chat. Oh, sorry, Tenzing. We've got two more questions in the chat. Wanting to hear more about the strawberry project paper. And then another question for Nawang. Where would you like to work in the future? And is there a goal you're wanting to reach? So do you want to do the strawberry project paper first?
The strawberry paper? Okay, yeah, sure. So basically, one of the things that you do when you get into the major is they want you to get into a lab, preferably as soon as possible. So I just started emailing around the university looking for a lab to join. And one of the labs I got into was doing research on plant pathogens of strawberries. And one of the things that they found was that there was this fungus, this type of fungus called Trichodoma asperellum. And what they found is that when placed on strawberry plants, it can actually prevent the colonization of other types of pathogen funguses, such as, I don't know if you've ever heard of fusarium or charcoal rot. Yeah, so I got to do this really cool experiment where I placed this fungus, this antagonistic fungus in strawberry plants, and I got to determine whether or not it was actually preventing the development of this disease in the strawberry plants. And it was also pretty promising. I wouldn't say it was like as effective as putting on a fungicide or just, any other more environmentally dangerous type of application to prevent diseases. But the fact that you can place it and it does something and it doesn't hurt the environment was exciting enough for me, and definitely pushed me more towards like that kind of side of research where it's like, okay, so how can we use this fungus to fight this other fungus or prevent this other guy from colonizing the plant? And yeah, it's really exciting. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue it because of the COVID-19 pandemic, but I know that they're still continuing it on UC Davis campus, and that we're going to find out more, like, what if we increase the concentration of the biocontrol agent? Like, what if we change some of the factors here? How would that affect the results? But yeah, anyways, I got to make a video for the Undergraduate Research Center and present to it with it was all online at that point, but it was still great because I love being able to present my research and my results. I think that was a really amazing experience that everyone should at least get to try once. Yeah, that's about it.
And
Nawang,
can you repeat the question for me, Sarah?
Yeah, where would you like to work in the future, and is there a goal you're trying to reach?
Awesome. I'd say, like, in the future, definitely I envision myself working in the health industry, the healthcare. And then given my background coming from Nepal, I would definitely like to do some kind of work where I can, do a project of some sort back in Nepal or help out in some sort there. But at the same time, like, my experience at Cal while, taking my MCB courses, the molecular cellular bio courses, I also like kind of peeked into the public health department there. They have a pretty big public health program, both at bachelor's and master's level. So got to take some of the courses there. And with that background, like global health is something of a big interest to me, and I would like to explore that more.
Do you have I don't think we have any more questions. So moving on to the next question. Cal, you're talking about like research, like how like research was emphasized at this, and then besides that, do you want to share of any other things how like transferring from a 2-year university to a university was any different, or how like what kind of experience did you face, or like new challenges did you face?
Yeah, I would say one of the challenges, at least something that I was able to figure out pretty early on that a lot of people weren't able to figure out, was housing. It's really important that you figure that early. We were looking for housing, I mean, at least 3 or 4 months before we transferred, and we were lucky to find one in July. By September, a lot of it had been taken up. So if you're not going to do on-campus housing when you transfer, because there is transfer housing, I believe, there is. It's really important that you look for somewhere else, or at least start emailing people really early, because either that or you're commuting from Sacramento. And I think that commuting to the school, it just takes away from one of the best aspects of living in the town and living in Davis. Being able to bike, or walk to school is amazing. And it's a pretty small college town, so it's nice to be able to experience that. Another challenge I faced was, it might go for most UCs, it would be the quarter system for sure. It just moves by really fast. I mean, the whole idea of having like a day where you go over the syllabus, it's just like day one, it's lecture, and then the next week there's like a quiz, and the next week there's like an exam. So it moves by pretty quickly. It was not something that I was really used to, and it took probably a couple quarters to finally get the hang of. But yeah, it's very rapidly paced. The good thing is that it's over pretty quickly. So, if you're in a class that you're not really happy with, or maybe you're struggling with, it's not going to last forever, not going to last like 5 months. But yeah, that was definitely a challenge. Yeah, I'm trying to think of anything else that I faced that was difficult. I got my bike stolen. That was hard. If you're going to bike in Davis, buy a really good bike lock. That was not fun. I had to walk so far home, and without my bike, it was bad.
As for housing in Berkeley, I think it's pretty similar to what Cal mentioned. I kind of like, started looking at housing along with like a couple of friends that were attending Berkeley. So we searched at least like 3-4 months ahead, and, just went to places, did like, open house and looked at it and stuff. But eventually what it ended up being was like, I got in contact with a friend of my friend who actually attended Cal and had graduated, and they were doing a program over at Japan. So they had this place there, and like they just wanted to sublet it out to someone else. So that's how I ended up getting my place, and then eventually I transferred the lease to myself. But a lot of people, like, they have both on-campus and off-campus housing, but of course, being in such a big city there's only limited amount of space, I'd say. So student housing, like, I would definitely recommend people to like kind of look ahead. First of all, just decide between like, whether you want to do on-campus and off-campus. And if you do on-campus, then, you're more guaranteed, but in terms of the finance, you might have to work that out. However, in terms of off-campus housing, there's options, depending on where you want to live around that Berkeley area. So if you go somewhere close to like El Cerrito area, then it gets a little more expensive. Anything around the campus is more expensive. If you go away to places like Richmond, Oakland, then, that's quite a bit of commute you'd have to do, but, it comes with cheaper housing on that side. In terms of commute, I would say, we don't have that luxury, like, that Davis offers. It's not a bike-friendly campus, but you can still bike and stuff. I did do that throughout my time at Cal. And like Cal mentioned, I got my bike stolen as well. So I definitely highly recommend you guys, get like a cheaper bike, but an expensive lock. I think that's the way to go. And they also have campus shuttles that go about like every hour or so, or every, I think 15 to 30 minutes or so. And they have this schedule live on this website that they post at Cal. So you can like kind of check that. And I use that a lot of times. Also for students at Cal, you also get this free bus pass. So you can take any of the, public transportation there, excluding the BART system, which kind of sucked, but you have to pay for the BART. Besides that, housing wise, I would definitely recommend, like, if you guys are transferring to Berkeley, then maybe like start joining like some of the Facebook groups that they have for housing. Join there. A lot of times people are open about like, what kind of roommates they're looking for. So you can easily figure that out. If you find a match, then you can definitely reach out to those people, or else you can make your own postings saying like, hey, I'm looking for this kind of people, majoring in this. And then a lot of times people either end up getting like a house and like renting out the rooms. They take a lease on that. But they are really expensive, the overall housing in Berkeley, unless you're able to find like some kind of rent controlled apartments, which are kind of like the older ones, then you might get lucky with that. That was the case for me, but other than that, it's pretty expensive.
Could you talk a little bit about like how classes in Berkeley, or like how the education, like the experience was different in Berkeley compared to like JC? Or for you, was it kind of similar?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, it was the class size, right? So I think it was like the first semester there at Cal, I was kind of like interested in anatomy. So I walked into a lecture hall. There was, I think, more than 1,000 people with like 3 different sets of like, screens set up there with a professor on top with a microphone. So that was a big shock to me, being used to our like small class size at the JC, which was really nice and worked out well for me. But nonetheless, like the setup at Cal is such that, you have this big lecture hall you're attending with anywhere from 200 and above students. But at the same time, like you also have these small, what they call discussion sections. Those are ran by graduate students. So, they're also called GSIs there, graduate student instructors. So they kind of go over the course materials as well. So, the professor kind of gives the lecture, and then the GSI kind of like touches on that, answers any of the questions. So, and that class size is kind of smaller, like I'd say anywhere between 15 to 30 people per classroom. So that was more customized, and which was very helpful, like, getting in touch with my GSI and like, just going over the material. But also for me, like, I was able to find my research opportunity by getting in contact with the GSI. There's kind of a backstory to that, but that's how it kind of worked out. So I'd say, like, if you're there at Berkeley, definitely make sure, you're very like comfortable speaking with the GSI. Just reach out. They're there to help. In terms of course load, I'd say I think the JC overall prepared me very well in terms of the rigor of the coursework. It was I'd say a rather easy transition. Like, for me attending the courseworks at Berkeley. Like my first semester taking biochemistry, I was taking my midterm and I'm like, wow, this was difficult. But man, I remember those physics, bio series midterms, or like organic chemistry with Galen. Like those are tough for me. So I think like that mindset already had built up in me, and like, okay, maybe I like extra prepared or something, but overall my time at Berkeley, I found like the coursework's doable. But that's not to discredit the amount of work that you have to put in there. So definitely like attend office hours, go to discussion sections, do group study, whether individual study, that's something for everyone to figure out on their own. And I think that's something important that you have to kind of like figure out early on. Like, do you prefer in general studying by yourself or like studying with a group? My approach was such that I did a self-study and then went to a group study. So then there, it was more of a discussion about like, our strengths and weaknesses, helping each other out. So I think that's good to kind of like figure out your study habits early on so that you can easily transition to that and not be shocked. Pass on to Cal.
Oh, thank you for sharing. And then we have a couple questions. I think we have one from Danielle and Andy, which are kind of hand in hand is like like what? How do you keep yourself motivated, like like for the long transfer process of going from the JC to like a four-year university? And then the other question is like, and then like, how did you prepare? Like, I mean, you touched on it a little bit, like how like the course load at the JC kind of helped you transition, like pick up at Berkeley, or like you kind of felt like it was a smooth transition. But what else can you do, like to prepare yourself mentally, or like to transfer, or like to transfer over?
How can oh yeah, sorry.
I'm not sure. I wasn't sure who was turn it was.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Oh, sorry, that's on me. Yeah, I should have specified. Oh, you can go ahead, Cal.
Okay. So I would say it would really depend on what you're transferring into. For me, I would say the bio series was super instrumental in helping me prepare for a UC system. The level of detail and information I had to learn in those courses really prepared for me. The fast paced of upper division classes, that was really helpful. I would say the organic chemistry series was also really helpful as well. And that's just specific to my major. It may be different for other people, but I know that generally from what I've talked to with other people or people in other majors, the classes that you take in maybe your last or second to last year at the JC are really instrumental in preparing you for a UC. And oftentimes you'll find that some of the UC classes are on the same level or, even just a little bit easier than the JC, but obviously don't get ahead of yourself too much. It really does depend on the major. And in my experience, I felt really well prepared going in, especially compared to other students who were struggling a bit with the amount of information and how fast paced it was moving for them. For me, I felt pretty fine through all of it. I was like, I'm ready for this. I have been waiting for this for years. Like, this is my chance. Especially since I waited so long to transfer. I really did take my time at the JC, and it may depend, on your experience, whether or not, you're ready or not. But I really took my time and prepared myself for the transfer, and I made sure I got all my I made sure I was IGETC certified, and I had taken all the classes I could take at the JC. That way, like, my time at the UC wouldn't go over, 2 years. Because right now, I'm pretty much on track to graduate. And I know people who, maybe they skipped a bio class at the JC, and they had to take it at the UC Davis, and they're really struggling, and there's some concern about graduating on time and getting enough classes done. So really, I would just make an education plan. Assist is like your best friend for that as well. Assist really helped me out there. And just make sure that, when you transfer, that you have a good education plan set up so that you can graduate on time. Another thing is, if you have to take physics, make sure you take it at the JC. If you need to fill that requirement. I know that physics can be really challenging, as well as organic chemistry and to an extent biology at UC Davis. So if you can, I would definitely fulfill all of those lower division requirements before you transfer. That's definitely something I would tell everybody to make sure that they get done.
What about Long? What do you feel like is helpful? Or what are helpful tips to prepare yourself for transferring and to keep yourself motivated?
Yeah, definitely, like, touching on this few of the points that I mentioned earlier, like, definitely the courseworks at the JC for me, like Cal mentioned, were definitely helpful in terms of preparing for the rigor of the coursework at Berkeley. But besides that, it also depends on like your individual study habits, So like I said, just kind of have that figured out early on, even while at the JC, if you're starting off. I know like few of the members here today, we're starting off JC this year, I think. So, just early on in your college career, just like figure out a good study habit that works well for you. That's efficient in a way as well, right? Just because like eventually down the road, you'll have like more and more coursework. So you can't just rely on something that's time consuming, but rather efficient as well. So I definitely emphasize on that. For me, like I mentioned, you know, I did a lot of like group study, but prior to that, I had my own self-study routine that I went over. So I finished that and then moved on to group study. Besides that, like, you know, just like some generic things like attend office hours. That's how you get to kind of like know your professors. And then for Berkeley, you know, discussion sections with your graduate student instructor, those are very helpful. I think those are a few of the things I'd say.
Okay. Thank you for sharing. Could you guys talk, starting with Nawang, could you guys talk about like some like on-campus and off-campus activities that are available to students at your or like your respective colleges?
Yeah.
Like, or the ones that you participated in?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll speak from like, you know, pre-med perspective on that. So at Berkeley, I think like, you know, or I'd say in general, like in like the bigger campuses, like UCs, any of the UCs in general, I think it's the concern is more about the amount of resources that you're getting exposed to at once, you know. So that's where the problem for me was. I was like, I attended the club fair, walked in and I saw like hundreds of clubs, you know, even if you localize it to a specific like pre-health clubs, there's like at least like 20 and 30 of them. So you kind of have to like filter through and see like which one has like the vision that aligns with like, you know, your interest. So that was kind of difficult for me. In terms of on-campus activities, like I said, you know, there's a lot of clubs to choose from, so you can definitely get yourself involved with that. Besides that, my time at Berkeley, I did a lot of like wet lab research, so that took most of my time as well. In terms of out-of-campus work, a lot of people in the pre-health, they do, you know, volunteering in like the nearby hospitals or the clinics, like I mentioned. You know, there's like a lot of like nearby bigger hospitals around Berkeley campus, so you can definitely like go and start shadowing as well as volunteering there, whether that be in Berkeley or across the bay at UCSF or a little further down at Stanford. So that's something you can get involved with, and there are like programs that are like at UCSF which takes students from UC Berkeley, whether that be through shadowing or even wet lab research. So I think those are a few of the activities you can kind of get involved with.
Oh, could you expand a little bit on like off-campus activities, or like if is there like a specific place you recommend someone transferring to Berkeley, like or hidden spots that you think only locals would know? It's like good to check out.
Off-campus activities for me, like, you know, a lot of times I just like played soccer, went to cafes. There's a lot of cafes, so that's where I get my study hours, you know. Oh, another interesting thing is like Berkeley is also pretty big in startups. So, you know, if you want to get involved with startups, whether that be fintech, biotech, or any other like technological startups, then there's definitely a hub for that. You can look online. I can probably like share the resources with Sarah or Tenzin and see like, you know, if people are interested in that. There's like this website that you can sign up for, and you see all the openings, you know, like based on like the qualifications that you have, you can like, you know, sign up in startups. So I know a lot of people, like friends from like other majors like engineering and stuff, while at Cal, they were also like working in startups, whether that be like apprenticeship, internships, or even like jobs for some people. And that was at Berkeley, just like right outside the campus. It was like, I think like 5 to 10 minutes bike ride for me. So it's pretty close in terms of that. Yeah.
I'm
Oh,
sorry
thank
to
you for sharing,
interrupt.
Noel.
There's this ongoing chat conversation about how to find out what, you know, prepare yourself. And one of the things I'm noticing is that you guys are just full of such great information. Like, you know, so like each, I think just Nawang and Kal, when you were preparing, did you find transfer counselors at the UC you were transferring to helpful? Were they someone you used as a resource?
Definitely. I found out about Assist through a transfer counselor who really helped me lay out an education plan for, okay, so here's what you're going to do all the way up until you transfer. So that way, when you transfer, you are set up for success, and you're going to go in with the amount of classes that you need to graduate on time and be really prepared. And they also kind of helped me figure out like just general questions about my major and the transfer process. So I found it to be really helpful. Yeah, I would definitely recommend, if possible, just see as many of the counselors as you can, get a feel for the requirements, and also as well, I believe if you're not going to a UC, I think CSUs require that you take a speech class. So if you're not entirely sure if you're going to go to UC or CSU, make sure you get those bases covered. I took the speech class anyways, just because, I wasn't sure if I was going to get in. So I had the CSUs as a backup. And, had I not gotten in and not taken a speech class, I would have had to take that again and then apply the next year. So make sure you're also covering your options there as well.
Yeah,
Do you have anything to add to that, Nawang, or?
I think he basically touched on that. Yeah, nothing else. I don't know what else I can add to that.
Okay. I think we're like kind of running short on time. We're trying to keep it between like 6 to 7 so that like everyone's busy with school and different activities. So trying to keep it like between those times. And then so this is kind of my last question to both of you guys is, do you guys want like have anything else that you guys kind of want to say, or do you guys, and then could you guys also share maybe your email if you don't mind on the chat, and then if people are interested or have more questions regarding transferring to Berkeley or Davis, if they could contact you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
Oh,
Kal, why don't you go first? Last thought.
yeah.
Okay, last thought. I want to say that when you transfer, it's fine to take a quarter to really settle in and get used to college or the new college and the new life. But I just want to say that there's a lot of really amazing opportunities for you to start kind of, expanding, I guess, your activities and hobbies. There's a lot of amazing clubs and opportunities for students to join, and people that really, really want to pick up undergrads, who especially transfers. There are a lot of people on campus looking for undergrads for research projects, for clubs and whatnot. In fact, even on campus, there's like at least 3 different ways to get a job or an internship. They have like the Internship Career Center. You go in there and you fill out some applications. They help you find internships. They have the Undergraduate Research Center at UC Davis. They even have some kind of like LinkedIn website called Aggie Handshake, where you fill out a profile and then people looking for undergrads or graduate students will match to you and see if you work out well at an internship for them. So there's plenty of opportunities for new students to come in and take all these amazing opportunities. I know that I did, and I got into a plant pathology lab by just simply going to my major advisor and saying, hey, how can I get into research? How can I get involved on campus? How can I become a part of, the research culture? And the advice I got was, you really just have to kind of put yourself out there. You're not just going to, take your classes and then someone's going to offer you something. You really just kind of have to say, take that first step, send a couple emails out, maybe make a profile, talk to an advisor, get into contacts. So it's really dependent on you taking the initiative and just putting the word out there and saying, hey, I'm interested in a position at your lab, and here's my credentials, or here's my interest. Would this be an opportunity that would work for you? It was honestly a bit intimidating at first, because I feel like, a lot of people feel like they're bothering these professors or these researchers, but once you do it and you get a response back, it feels really good, and being able to be part of that definitely makes it all worth it.
Yeah, adding on that, in terms of research experience, I know that's something a lot of people are interested in as well. For me, personally, my background was starting research at Buck Institute, thanks to Abigail and the whole program there. I was able to get in contact with a mentor there and do that research, I think, for 3 months prior to attending Cal. It was during the transfer summer. But once I got there, for me, like, I was able to connect with my GSIs, like I said, graduate student instructor, because some of them, they're just starting their first year of PhD program there, and you can easily connect with them. They've just recently graduated from like a 4-year, and it's easy to connect with them. So I would say definitely talk to your GSIs and be upfront about it, about your interest. And if you have an interest in the lab that they're working in, do a little bit of background research and see if that's something you'd like to participate in. And if so, then, just be upfront about it, ask questions, and get in touch. A lot of times, they're constantly looking for undergrads to, help out with the research. So you can either work with like the GSIs directly, or a lot of times, like Kal mentioned, just reach out to your professors. You can either do cold emails. I know some people that have done calls, like, straight calls. They've gotten research opportunity like that. But besides that, just have a nice resume ready, talk to them during office hours and see if they'd be willing to take you in. If not, if it's a different professor that you haven't taken a course with, then, try to find their office hours and reach out, email, show yourself. I think it's always better when you show yourself in person and have a conversation directly with the professor rather than emailing, because in email all you can see is your name and the email address. But when you show a face to the name, I think that carries a lot of value. And I think one of the story was I met this mentor at Berkeley who's now an MD PhD candidate. But yeah, his take on it was just cold calling professors, and then I was like, why would you do that? And he basically said that, well, that way they know I'm not BSing anything, so they could be upfront about asking questions. Professors could ask them questions, they could answer them straight up without taking the time to create some kind of response. So that was an interesting approach. I'm not sure if that will work well with everyone, but definitely show yourself out, talk to people. Even when you form groups and stuff, your friends might be working in certain labs and they're looking for more undergrads, so then that way you can connect. I would say after transferring, your time will just fly by, and sooner than later you'll realize you graduated. I think that's what happened to me. I was like, wow, that went by quick, So, while you're there, make the most use of your time. Say yes, I think most of the time, but be careful on that as well. But in general, when opportunity presents, just be willing to participate in that, whether that be small on-campus activities, or whether that's something big like research, or working, or in the case of Berkeley, like I was saying, you could also be part of startup culture there, so you can participate in that. Just make the most use of whatever is around you. And like I said, I think I left my email there as well. If you guys have any questions on the specifics and stuff, I'd be happy to answer that.
I put a link in the chat. Last spring, Caprice, Disbro, and I put on a workshop at the end of the semester about how to get an internship at your transfer institution. And I wrote up a little handout, which has got a template for what the email should say. This is what your first paragraph should say. This is what your second paragraph should say. This is what your third paragraph should say. And then you sign off. And I was prowling around on LinkedIn, and Somali, I don't remember Somali's last name, but some of you know her. She's from Uganda originally, and she transferred to UCLA. And even in coronavirus, she used that, and she's gotten herself an internship in one of the research labs at the medical school at UCLA. So she was very nervous about corona, distance remote learning at UCLA and how this was going to work. And she really feels better now that she's part of a lab and she has a community that she can be part of. So yeah, you can do it even with the coronavirus out there. And you're welcome to just take that little email template that I wrote and just stick in your information. There's still labor, because if you ask for an internship, you have to have read their papers and their website and be able to say something intelligent about their work. So you know you're not just, a stranger off the street.
I just had something to add on to the whole, with the whole coronavirus pandemics. I think pre-meds that are interested in getting some clinical works or shadowing experience have failed to do so, just because, a lot of the hospitals, clinics, private practices are cutting that down just to minimize the impact. But I've been following this doctor who also does a lot of podcasts and has this pre-med journey laid out. So if you have any questions, you can kind of go over to that podcast, and their website is very helpful. And currently what they're doing is called EShadowing. So every week or so, Monday, I think it's at 5 p.m. They bring in different physicians, with different background. I think it was right before this call, they had an emergency medicine physician from Colorado. So I could share that resource as well. You could just register for that, attend that. And I think even if you're interested, you can get a certification at the end saying like you got this shadowing hours from this university or something like that. So if you guys have some free time and are interested in that, I could definitely share that.
Can you put that in the chat, Nawang?
Definitely.
Oh, and then quickly before everything, I kind of wanted to so I kind of wanted to close out. We still have one more question. I'll close out and then I'll ask the question if the panelists want to stick around and answer that for any, or I think Abigail can answer the question too, regarding like how to make sure how to confirm what major you guys are in, or what is it?
I'm sorry, what was the question?
It's about how can you talk to can you still talk to a transfer counselor about if you have a general idea of what you want to
Yeah,
of what you're in?
because the transfer counselors tend to be in areas like they are the transfer counselor that's involved with the biological sciences, or the transfer counselor that's involved in, arts and music. Isn't that correct, Kal and Nawang, when you were dealing with your transfer counselors? So they're not super narrow in their focus. They're a little bit broader. So if you're interested in theater and music and performing arts, that would be probably the same transfer counselor who's doing that as who's doing visual arts probably. Or if you're the transfer counselor who's working with all the biological sciences at UC Davis, which is, but they might differ. Like if you were interested in the College of Ag, which has the applied sciences versus the College of Letters and Science, there might be a separate one. But I think you can talk to more than one transfer counselor and pick everyone's brains.
Yeah, that's it. Definitely.
They'd be honored. They'll be lucky to have you, Ani. And so that's what you should approach it like. I'm giving them the opportunity to get me as one of their fabulous students.
Exactly. I think that's a good mindset to have, So at Berkeley, there's the bigger letter and science college, which has multiple different majors, including computer science. There's the MCB department. So, you can reach out to those counselors, but also for the individual department, like my MCB, which is molecular cell bio, they have a counselor for that as well. They actually have few different counselors for that. So you can definitely reach out to them as well. If you check out molecular cellular biology department page in Berkeley, you'll be able to find the access to counselors as well. And that applies to the other colleges that are there in Berkeley as well.
I also wanted to point out, I am part of the College of Agricultural Sciences, and then I have a roommate in College of Letters and Sciences, and another one in College of Biological Sciences. So if you want to email me, I'd be happy to ask them questions about it. A lot of my information I got just from talking to people. I feel like everybody knows somebody who transferred and went to a UC, or we have friends that you had classes with that later went on to transfer. So definitely forming those connections at JC are really important. Feel free to email me if you have any questions about any of the colleges at UC Davis, and I'd be happy to get back to you.
Actually, I do. This Ani's question is one I have because I don't know as much about the transfer counselor system. So when you fill out your tag, the request for, do you automatically get people in contact with you, or did you go to each department and look up and see who the transfer counselor was and contact them?
I actually did not tag, so my experience might be a little bit different.
Okay.
What I did though, however, was I just got in touch with the major advisor, because there's different levels, and there's the College of Agricultural Sciences, Environmental Sciences. They have their own counselors, and then there's the major Pacific counselors. And I was interested in the major already, so what really helped me was just emailing them, and then they ended up just sending me a couple documents that gave you a better idea of what the major would be about. And then from then on, I was just able to do my research and then say, oh, this is something I definitely want to go for.
Nawang, how did you find your transfer counselors?
Okay, and then
for me, so transfer counselors at Berkeley, right?
Yeah.
To be honest, I didn't really like, get in touch with transfer counselor until I was there already. So I looked at the college, I went to the websites and looked at the program and then applied and finally got in and then got in touch with the counselors there, which was not the best strategy. But like I said, they have like letter and science department, so you can reach out to counselors there. That's kind of a general one. And then if you want to specify, then, within that college, there's, for biology majors, there's majors like integrated biology. There's also molecular cellular biology. So both of those departments have different counselors. As far as I recall, MCB had at least like 3-4 counselors, and like IB had at least 2-3 counselors at a time, and all of their email information are posted on the website. So you can definitely like click on it and you can reach out. They also have student counselors, so, students that are actually attending Cal and they have like, some spare time, so they volunteer to become student counselors. I would definitely like, reach out to them as well if possible. And then, they're your JC graduates as well, like myself, who can help out. So.
Ani, are you more interested in environmental science and at that end, or what's your interest?
I was actually in the process of writing my last question. I was wondering how you guys narrowed down your interest into a major, because I know that I've been doing a lot of environmental work and I'm really interested in climate change and relationships with humans and all that jazz, but I don't know how to narrow that down into a major, and that's kind of what I'm struggling with. And I think I'm almost qualified to transfer because I've gotten a lot of that stuff already done. So yeah, that's kind of my question.
As for me, UC Davis has a great environmental science program. In fact, they just built this big, beautiful building where they're doing a whole bunch of research regarding agriculture and environmental science. And from what I've heard, I'm part of the college, but it's not my major. From what I heard, the program there is really great. And there's a whole variety of different internships available for students willing to transfer. As for narrowing down your major, really, what I would do is I would go on Assist and just look at the different majors they have, and what the requirements or what classes you've taken to fill out. Or because I know for me, some classes that I had taken did not transfer over, and some classes did. So really, I would spend a lot of time on Assist, go through different majors, and see which ones kind of align with classes that you've taken, and say, I'm interested in that one. What classes would I need to take before I transfer that would help me best? And then from there on out, if you can maybe find like 4 or 5 majors that you're interested in, then I would definitely recommend going on the website. And I know that they have a lot of information about, what goes on and, what you're expected to learn and experience there. So yeah, I would definitely start at Assist and then label it down to something, maybe a few majors, and then just start doing your research. And I think by then you'll probably figure it out. I know I did after spending a while on the website and just doing a bit of reading and just reading about like the personal testimonies about people who have been through the major and their experiences. That definitely helped a lot.
Yeah, I think he definitely covered much of the ground on that. But to just add a little on it, Assist is definitely one of the most helpful websites. At the same time, you could also go to like the individual department that you're considering transferring to. Go to the website and then you can look at the courses. So in the course catalog, each of the courses will tell you the descriptions about like, what the focus is about. So if that kind of like aligns with, what your interest lies with, then definitely like that's how you can like filter through courses. Cause like rather than, for example, having something say like, oh, like nutrition science 101, if you have like an explanation of like what that particular class is covering, then that'll kind of give you a better idea of like choosing which classes to take. So I think that's definitely a helpful approach.
The other thing I'd suggest, Ani, is that segueing to our next alumni panel is going to be a diversity of different alumni who are working in different industries and different types of jobs. And I want to put a plug in for a course called, it's Biology 7, Chem 7, Math 7, Physics 7. It's cross-linked, and it's careers in STEM. And Cal took the course, and its goal is to help people. Oops, wow, he's walking the walls there. His goal is to help people figure out what they want to do and how to develop their career plans and give them the tools to do that. And part of that is teaching people how to do what are called informational interviews, where you talk to people in different types of careers and figure out what they do and whether you'd like it and learn more about it and build connections. It's offered every spring. It'll be offered this spring. And I think that sometimes which major you do isn't as important as what experiences you take advantage of. So for example, if you're, people think, oh, I have to major in physiology or, some molecular biology to go to medical school. But there's people who major in economics or in English literature, and they do all the requirements for medical school and they get the experiences and they can demonstrate that they're going to be have a broader approach and they're going to offer something different and interesting. And we often think it's the major and the courses that matter, and they're true, but the internships, the jobs, the projects are going to be the thing that give you the connections for the work you do when you finish. And so they also are the things that let people, like one of our first students who went to the Buck Institute, they were 2 students. And both of them were pre-med. Well, they were sort of pre-med or pre-research. And one of them was like, I do not want to go to medical school. I love research. And Harold Marin is now at UC San Francisco in his 3rd year of his PhD program. And Sonny Biradar was like, nope, I don't like research at all. And I was like, and she felt bad. And I was like, no, that's the point of an internship, is to realize what you like and what you don't like. And she's in her 3rd year of medical school right now. And that's what she wants to do and wanted to do. So, people, sometimes you have to try things out and see, I like it, I don't like it. So I think don't worry too much about what you major in. Take opportunities to do things. Yeah.
Thank you. That was really good advice.